start with a clean slate in 2025. And that is why in 2025, we are going to grant a tax amnesty to all businesses and individuals and start afresh. All businesses and individuals will have a tax amnesty and we will start afresh.
Now, we're in to speak to a number of issues as well. So when you go into our streams, please make sure you share the stream. I have Husseini Issa. He's here. Good morning to you, Husseini Issa.
Yeah, good morning, Roland.
All right. Eduji Tamaklo, legal practitioner, right here. Good morning to you, Eduji.
Good morning, Roland.
Okay.
Good morning to the Honorable Husseini.
And it's about the Vice President of the Republic, Dr. Bawumia, who also doubles as the presidential candidate of the ruling MPP. And is a choice that Ghanaians will be making, among many others, stiffly being competed by former President John Dramani Mahama of the NDC, and that will be on December 7, 2024. And he has been saying, among other related matters, that it looks like the GRA constantly will be harassing, or perhaps getting to those who tend to pay taxes within the trade and commerce space, and that seemed to have ignited or ruffled the feathers of the workers of the Ghana Revenue Authority. And so their union copiously put together a statement. But first, let's hear from the Vice President, what he also says about tax waivers, and then we'll also come to read that copious message or response by the GRA authorities as well. That will be the union. So I'll take you straight to what the GRA is saying. So the GRA union, they are saying, we'll put that on the screen for you very soon, and then you get to see. And they are indicating that the responses of the Vice President was unfortunate, and that they are not individuals, as far as they are related, who will not be in a position not to meet their obligations by way of the targets that they are giving. So we'll put the letter on the screen for you. And if we do that, you also find that when it comes to what the concern has been, they seem to be also raising issues about what the Vice President had been saying in relation to all the things when it comes to the targets that are met. So let me just read that for you. And it says, we have observed and listened with utter dismay and disbelief reports on media platforms regarding pronouncement made by the Vice President to the effect that GRA is harassing taxpayers and businesses. And so they wish to respond as follows, that they would like to state unequivocally that the workers of GRA find the statement from the Vice President unfortunate and consider it an attack on the effort of the Revenue Authority. And then when you go forward, you also say that they have to place it on record that there has been unprecedented growth in tax revenue collection. And so far in 2023, in excess of 113 billion. And they consequently even name the COVID period said to have met their revised tax targets as well, despite the challenges of COVID. And so they conclude that it is strange that the Vice President, who also doubles as the head of the economic management team, could suggest that the authority gives itself unrealistic targets, whilst he is well aware that annual targets are assigned to the authority by government through the Ministry of Finance. Indeed, the least they expect from the Vice President, they say, if he would not appreciate the efforts of the authority in raising tax revenue, is not to put the lives of hard-working staff of the GRA at risk with such unfortunate comments. And since then, a lot has been brewing. Now, we'll get him on tax waivers as well. But first, let me get you, Mr. Inusa Husseini, to respond to this. Or Husseini Issa, please respond to this.
Good morning, Roland. Good morning to Edwige, and good morning to your viewers. I should say a good morning to our flag bearer and the Vice President of Ghana. I'm believing that he's well and going around his duties healthily.
You'll not say good morning to the
expected.
president.
Oh yeah, I mean, good morning to the president. I mean, in these days when anything can happen, we pray and hope that nothing actually happens the way Mr. Kwesi Ahoy hoped or wishes. Allah is not in our party. We hope and pray that everybody's healthy. They go by around their duties and they're able to serve their full terms and not incur any,
He said he was sorry. He should have
weren't
stated
too happy. I mean, death is just one of life's certainties, and so we all die. But how you die is what
I'm happy you are laughing. When I start, laugh the same way.
The vice president made a pronouncement, but I didn't think that or I should think that he was actually
was joking,
misconstrued. He cannot be joking. What he said was something that a lot of Ghanaians have experienced and continue to experience it. You recollect that sometime late last year, maybe around September, there was some activity of the GRA somewhere in Kumasi. They trying to do some tax invigilation that had some backlash.
It's not only in
today,
Kumasi.
Across the country. But in Kumasi it was quite particular because
they were even at the shopping mall.
They were at the shopping mall. I recollect that there's one particular shop around Abekan Junction where I patronize and stuff. And for weeks, there was a gentleman. There was always a gentleman from GRA there. Sometimes as late as 10 p.m. and all of that. I thought that maybe they were doing the right thing. On the other hand, I also felt the pressure on the whoever was operating the business. And so it was just right that we find creative ways. And so I think that what the vice president didn't go out there to incur the wrath of the employees or endanger their lives like they want us to believe, but he was rather finding a way to get them to be more creative, to resolve the real challenges that we have. And you see, the uniqueness about the vice president is that when he identifies a problem, then he has a solution to it. He was getting to a solution, but he had to also define the problem. Because look, he had mentioned the fact that in 2025, he is proposing that when he becomes president, he is going to implement a tax policy that in the long run was going to get people to contribute to the national kitty rather than us just concentrating on that small number of people who bear all the burden. Look, in Ghana from 2022, and in fact in Ghana, just about 10% of our population actually pay taxes. And we have been continuously describing our situation, our tax revenue to GDP, how it compares to our competitors within the sub-region and on the continent. I mean, elsewhere, you realize that the tax to GDP, or in fact, at a certain level within the Scandinavian countries, when you earn $1, you pay 70 cents in taxes. That's how dire it is. So when we go to those countries and we see systems working, it's because people contribute, people pay taxes to enable the government provide those services. We have been grappling with all that, since time immemorial. But you see, when the vice president identified this problem of taxpayers feeling the burden, feeling the pressure that the GRA puts on them, he went on to propose a solution. And that is the tax amnesty that he's proposing in 2025. And people have actually questioned this tax amnesty. But you see, this amnesty
no one has questioned.
On social media. Okay. If you go on social media.
You mean ordinary Ghanaians?
Ordinary Ghanaians. But you see, the tax amnesty thing, it could be, there's a range of it. It could even be that, look, people who have outstanding taxes are encouraged to pay up, but penalties and interest are reduced. It's a form of tax amnesty. And this will actually encourage people to meet their tax obligations. So this whole thing, right? And you see the difference between whatever tax amnesty we are going to have in 2025 and what we had in the past is that the same vice president had led an agenda of digitalization. Today, 17 million Ghanaians have NIA cards. And it makes a whole lot of difference because every Ghanaian can be identified. Where you live, what you do, what you earn, and how much tax you're supposed to pay. Unlike previous tax amnesties, when still we could only we could only try to identify them. This time, unless we are definite, we know who should be paying taxes. And so it is a game changer. So it is a proposition, and in his usual elements, he is solving the problem that we have with our tax system, not concentrating on the 10% who have been paying taxes over the years, but he's thinking about broadening the tax. I mean, this has been taught. I mean, as a small boy, from in the past 30 years. You've been learning this since in the past
economic without tears, the textbook.
Economic without tears since I started that some like 40 years ago.
And the vice president has been vice president since.
I mean, since 2017.
And he hasn't broadened the tax net yet.
We have not gotten to the level that we should, but thankfully, with the capacity to be able to identify who the taxpayer should be, it has moved this whole thing to another level, and that is what we are aiming at. Because this time we know who should be paying the taxes, where they are, what they are doing, when they should be paying the taxes. It's very practical now. Try it, Roland. If you have a company now, you realize that when it is time to file your tax returns, when it's time to file your annual returns, you get text messages, because this time your NI card, your national identification card, your phone number, everything is within in there, so they can identify you.
Have you read the GRA Union statement?
I have
because they say they find it very derogatory or insulting. If I have to paraphrase,
that is why I'm saying that.
Because they go to the extent of even calling on the president.
They should.
Nana Dankwe Kufadro, and I'm reading this verbatim.
I have read it.
No, you haven't read it, because if you read it, you won't say some of the things you're saying. Because he says that, and we want to call on the president and all Ghanaians to admonish political functionaries to desist from making such pronouncements and intervene swiftly, as this statement poses a major risk to revenue mobilization efforts going forward. So my question is it not self-indicting or contradictory?
No.
That
look, I sit here.
That at one end, the vice president is purposefully pursuing an agenda of digitalization, but at the other hand, also seems to be making statements that are quote-unquote insulting, derogatory, and according to the GRA workers, risking their lives and then also reducing their morale. That is at the heart of the conversation.
I don't think so. I think you're getting this whole thing mixed up. Look.
No, I'm not getting this. This is a statement by the union.
Of course they are. But even me, I sit here to encourage people to pay their taxes, put systems in place to ensure that the government actually is able to rake in the needed revenue to push our developmental agenda forward. Look, the practical bit is that if you try to go to GRA this morning and you try to register a company, right, for tax purposes, you are going to be given a tax bill, right? The last time I tried it, I actually I had some very heated arguments, because I really didn't understand that. Look, for a new company that was seeking to register for tax purposes, I was given a tax bill that required that, look, if I didn't have money to start my business, I needed to go take a loan to come and pay my tax bill even before I get a first business for the company. And these are arrangements that needs to be addressed. And the vice president did not only state what the problem is, but he went on to give a solution. And I think that the union should also avert their minds to the solution that the vice president is giving. That, look, in 2025, we are going to ensure that whatever pressures you feel, whatever encouragement taxpayers need to do to be able to bring the two together, this is how we are going to move on. And the difference is that this time we know who the taxpayers should be, we know where they are, we know what they do, because they are all registered and they all have national identification cards which are linked to their businesses at the register of companies. So it's a way to carry everybody along to ensure that whatever revenues we need,
we'll get the vice president's insert ready on the tax amnesty, etc. Because the new thing he has introduced is that we are going to start afresh. And it's a statement that, based on the interactions I've had with some individuals within the trade and commerce industry, seem to be perplexed about. And that's what the vice president said. Before I pose a question to Eduji.
Start with a clean slate in 2025. And that is why in 2025, we are going to grant a tax amnesty to all businesses and individuals and start afresh. All businesses and individuals will have a tax amnesty and we will start afresh.
Is the preface of what he said led to the statement that he made about the granting of amnesty to businesses and starting afresh 2025. Somebody who said that should be good, and the GRA workers should be in tune with the vice president, who is the head of the economic management team.
Okay, so even before I make my submission, the life of anybody is in the hands of Almighty Allah. I recall when the NPP came to power within 2017-2018, the vice president, the NPP candidate, you recall how he collapsed and how to be moved out of the country abroad. By the grace of Almighty Allah, he's still alive today and a candidate for the NPP. We can only be grateful to God for our lives. You see, that said, I want to put the conversation in a different perspective.
Which is?
First of all, Dr. Bawumia is the chairman of the economic management team. The budget statement is prepared by the economic management team that has the finance minister, the vice president chairing it, and other ministers. The budget is prepared and submitted to cabinet for approval. In the budget, there are two principal things: expenditure and income or revenue. The revenue target is set by the chair of the economic management team and the EMT, and it is sent to cabinet, and cabinet does the approval. So, for instance, in the 2024 budget, you would notice that whereas we have an expenditure level of over 200 and something billion Ghana cedis, revenue projection is about 175 billion. So that target is set by the government itself, through cabinet, through the EMT. And the vice president is an integral part of this process. And so, if today the vice president comes out to say that GRA sets outrageous target for itself and in the process harasses taxpayers, the vice president is actually saying that I set outrageous tax targets. And you see, our vice president, beyond being comical on some of these issues, is becoming, like a farce.
What do you mean by comical and becoming a farce?
You are the chair of the economic management team. GRA, Ghana Revenue Authority, the Commissioner General or his workers do not sit in a room and decide that today we want to collect this amount of revenue. In fact, the new finance minister, what's the name again? Mustafa, Amin Anta, sorry.
Dr. Amin Adam.
Amin. He just stated to GRA, encouraging them that they should exceed their revenue target. And this is on graphic online. Push to exceed revenue target. New finance minister urges GRA. 20th February 2024. The Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohammed Amin Anta, had urged the Ghana Revenue Authority to develop the strategies to exceed revenue target, unquote. Bawumia is not aware. It is government that has always put the pressure on GRA to exceed their revenue target. And this is on graphiconline.com, 20th February 2024. Bawumia thinks that he's an opposition leader. You are not. You are the sitting vice president of the Republic of Ghana. You have the power today to effect change. You are not like an opposition leader who is now looking for power to effect change. In fact, you are the number 2nd of this republic. And so, whatever it is, or for whatever is worth, you have the capacity to effect change now. But you see, why? Hold on. Why do you think Bawumia is behaving this way?
What do you mean by he's behaving this way? He wants to, according to him, make business easy.
I beg you. Bawumia has no respect for the ordinary Ghanaian. If he has any respect, even for himself, with the greatest respect to the office he occupies, he will not be making this outlandish, ridiculous statement, and in some instances, inciting the public against GRA workers. When you say, as the vice president, the GRA workers are your tools, they are your workmen. Now you are telling the ordinary taxpayer that I am clean. It is the GRA people who are terrible, and they are the ones deliberately harassing you. Why would you do a thing like that? Why would you want to set up the GRA staff against the ordinary taxpayer for political expediency? What kind of person are you? The level of dishonesty relative to our vice president and his level of desperation is so terrible and reckless that we should not encourage it. I have never seen a president or vice deliberately take on his workmen in this reckless manner. And you see, the danger is that today, if you are a GRA worker and you set out to go and take, taxes for the purposes of national development, you stand the risk of being attacked by taxpayers.
Oh, how? I saw that in the statement of the GRA Union.
Just
because of what the vice president said?
Yes, because what he had done is to incite the public against GRA workers. Why would you do this?
How is that possible?
These are your workmen. And you see, what is the vice president talking about? That if you make me the president, I would give you tax waiver. You see, our vice president lies too much.
Tax amnesty.
Yes, please. I kept quiet when you were talking. Exercise self-control. Exercise self-control. Listen.
For you to be using words
please.
that you cannot.
A liar is a liar. And let me proceed. Let me tell you.
Tell me, give me one lie that he has said. Then you can proceed, because I cannot sit here for you to be describing me, because I
permit me to do that.
And then use some words on even people who are thinking that they know they have what it takes to eliminate somebody for the other person to become president.
Can I proceed?
And it's happened in your party.
Can I proceed?
You are not calling those people murderers.
Can I proceed?
You are not. So
I
want it here for you to call the vice president a liar when you cannot.
It says that don't call the vice president.
He is a liar, and I'll repeat it. You see, in 2017, the MPP government, with Bawumia as the vice president, went to parliament when he was a member of parliament and passed the Tax Amnesty Act 2017 at 955. Is Bawumia telling me he's not aware of this law?
And what about it?
This law was passed for the purposes of providing tax amnesty for taxpayers, and the law has not been repealed. He was in parliament when that law was passed.
No, tax amnesty is for a period of time.
Please,
tax amnesty is for perpetuity.
And
when you give tax amnesty, it's within the time.
You admit.
So when the time lapses,
in
20,
because I was just about to add that tax amnesty is given for a specific purpose.
So you cannot say that if you pass one in
listen carefully. In 2017, this law was passed.
Yes.
When was it repealed? Ask him.
And I'm telling you,
The law is
the
oh, why are you doing this? You are being disruptive. And you know, I will not allow you to talk on that. Tell me my training, heckling is part of my work.
No, that's
if
okay.
you want, I will go on that line with you.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
Exercise control.
Let's not descend there. Let's
I
the two of you.
look,
Let's not
you
descend
said
there.
Mr.
Husseini,
I didn't like.
Mr. Husseini,
I kept my calm.
I asked a
was
question
so
to him.
cool.
No, it's okay. I asked a question to him that in my review of literature, amnesties are granted businesses or even projects or activities for a period of time. He is making a statement and an argument. So I expect that if there's any rebuttal at all, because I have already posited that position by way of the question. So please make sure you just state that.
Further to that, the MPP administration, and relatively, when it comes to tax amnesty, there are things you consider. Sometimes interests on payments, penalties on payments that you've not been able to do. So in 2021, again, under the watch of Dr. Bawumia, as the vice president and chair of the economic management team, they went to Parliament and passed the Penalty and Interest Waiver Act 2021, Act 1065. It was to provide tax waivers. It was to provide waiver on interest and penalties. That's also part of tax amnesty. These laws were passed with Bawumia as the chair of the economic management team. It didn't end there. The same law had been amended by what is known as the Penalty and Interest Waiver into bracket Amendment Act 2021, Act 1073. So at all material times, we have the legal regime that allows for tax waivers, waivers on penalties, waivers on interest on taxes, among other things. The only reason why Dr. Bawumia believes that he can, as it were, gaslight Ghanaians by deceiving them, by lying to them, is that he knows that as the chairman of the economic management team, under his watch, over 40 new taxes have been placed on Ghanaians. 40 new taxes. Now, first of all, when GRA workers decided in ensuring compliance with the exercise duties and others law, decided to go to the various supermarkets.
Or the shops.
The shops.
Or the business places.
Did you hear Bawumia speak?
Why is that coming in?
Because if at that time the conduct of the GRA staffs were problematic, yours or your responsibility is to speak to the issue and tell them to stop. At that time, government of Ghana badly needed the taxes. In fact, the record will show that under the hard-working workers of GRA, in 2017, they made a tax of 39 billion Ghana cedis for this government. 2018, 47 billion Ghana cedis. 2019, 53 billion. Even in COVID year, they exceeded the tax before COVID came. That is 55 billion.
No, that couldn't be.
Please.
It was a revised target.
No, what I'm telling you is
that the target is a target.
Yes, the target was achieved.
But it was revised.
But you see, hold on.
This is this is in a statement of the GRA Union.
Before COVID came,
But
before
in
COVID,
the
please
statement,
stop
did they
this.
stay revised?
What are you doing?
No, they didn't state it.
In
But we know that
2019, where there was no COVID, they made 53 billion. When COVID came, they made 55 billion. 2021, they did 70 billion. 2022, 98 billion. Now, guess something. Just last year, GRA workers were able to raise 113 billion Ghana cedis. These are people who you applaud. You don't condemn them. But you see, our vice president had become extremely desperate for power, that he doesn't care throwing anybody under the bus. That kind of leadership is not what
And
Ghana
who is being thrown
deserves.
under the bus here?
The GRA. The vice president wants to look good by destroying the Ghana Revenue Authority and its workers. That is dangerous politics. And under no circumstance should Ghanaians, under no circumstance should Ghanaians give such a person the opportunity to rule. There is something about leadership that we must take away. Leadership of responsibility. A leader, yours is to say, I take responsibility for the role my workers have played. We will do this to remedy A, B, C, D. But to go before taxpayers and try to undermine the authority of GRA for the sole purpose of political power is dangerous politics, and we should not encourage it. You see, I will do that. What has been the role of GRA workers? They work so much, sometimes at personal risk, make the money, and the president uses it for his luxury, renting private jets, among other things. Some private jet that enables him to bath in the sky.
What do you mean by it for its luxury?
But you see,
you didn't listen to the defense minister when he came before Parliament. He said that it was for national security reasons.
National security reason that allows the president to go and rent luxurious private jets at the time. And you see, if you want to expose these liars, do you know that at the time the president claimed that he's unable to use the private jet, he used the Ghana private jet to the inauguration of Yoweri Museveni in Uganda, 6 hours journey. Meanwhile, when he was going to London, he sought to rent a private jet. GRA workers are working. They raise the money. You use it for your luxury. And instead of applauding them, what do? You gaslight them and blame them as harassing poor taxpayers. That is not correct. It is bad politics, and we should not encourage it.
Fuseni, there's a key consideration that it looks like the workers of GRA seem to be making by their rebuttal sharp reply to the vice president. That seemed to be an overriding concern, that the vice president's statement seemed to be reducing the morale, or could reduce the morale of the workers. And they even go by saying, we implore all workers in the authority to remain calm and go about their daily duties professionally as always, and to be rest assured that the leadership of the union will do its best to safeguard and protect them at all times, indicating that they are not safe.
Roland, the character of the vice president cannot be dented, because he's proven over time that he's been in the frontline politics. I mean, it's never been questioned. And you can say anything about him. But the good people of Ghana who are watching us this morning have seen and experienced his character. And I don't think that you're sitting here and calling him names is going to do anything to dent it. Look, this is a man who has led this digitalization agenda of this government. See one thing he did. I was just saying that only 10% of our population actually pay direct taxes. By him leading the national identification project, ensuring that 17 million Ghanaians have access to national ID cards, and the conversion of our NI cards into NI card numbers into our tax identification numbers, he's moved the number of taxpayers from the ranges of about 3 million to potentially about 17 million. This is what you call progress, and this is a big change in our tax administration. This is independence.
The vice president did that already.
But now he led the NIA, and once he led the NIA,
for us to be able who leads the NIA, because he has a policy agenda.
It is a project under his office. To say the NIA.
Because I know Professor Kenatefa leads the NIA.
And I'm telling you that it is a project under his office. It is one of the projects he's taken upon himself. And thankfully, today, we have over 17 million Ghanaians who have national identification cards. By the conversion of our national identification cards as our tax identification numbers, already 17 million people have been roped into the tax net. Now, I'm telling you that the difference between whatever tax amnesty we've had in the past and what he's looking at and what he's proposing in 2025 is that we know where those 17 million people are. We know what they do. We know what they earn. And so we can go after them for them to contribute their fair share equitably into the national kitty, and that is what that's how you make progress. The same person who had led this agenda will not go behind and poo-poo them. He has identified a problem, and I have stated these problems. Ghanaians go through these problems every day. I have personally stated what I went through when I went to register a company, where if I didn't have capital to start my business, I had to go look for money to come and pay my tax bill, even before I commence business. Yes, the GRA has targets. Yes, that's true. Those targets are built upon previous year's performances, where we project the economy is going to go. And that's how we build that. It is not a case of the government sitting down and looking under their hat and pulling out a target for the GRA. And when you mention, yes, even in COVID years, they were able to get a target. In COVID, when the economy was virtually shut down, they came back to Parliament. It was revised based on the economic activity we had projected for that particular year in 2020. So if they actually got the target because it was revised. If you look at the figure in the budget as at December or November 2019, when the 2020 budget was actually prepared, it had revised by like 50% before they were able to achieve. But these are regular and administrative issues. The vice president single-handedly had brought in revolutionary changes within the GRA with nobody.
So
nobody
in all consideration,
been able to
the vice
do that
president
since independence
has revolutionized when it comes to the effort to expand the tax nets.
That's it.
Through the expansion of having increased numbers of Ghanaians within a taxable population to be registered with NIA.
That's it.
Then why does he go about making a statement?
I'm saying that. I'm saying that.
And then he harasses.
That statement.
So when you make a statement that harasses,
that statement,
was it taken out of context?
That statement.
Or it is that the GRA workers and all of us who really...
I gave you an example. What happened last year? You remember when this taxing legislation thing was going on? I sat in the studio. I was
at the time the vice president was not there. Or
it was an experience. So he's speaking from those experiences that we have gone through. Was it relevant? Was it the best way GRA could have gone through it? Look, I tell you, if you go elsewhere in other jurisdictions, every corner shop has a cash register. We have passed laws in this country. But admittedly, a lot of our transactions are done on cash basis. Because in Mokola or the hawkers on the streets, I don't really see traditionally how they can use a tax register. And because of the size of the economy that is informal, it is always a challenge. So we have to also be creative. And one of the biggest shifts in formalizing this economy, ensuring that our institutions have what it takes to be able to meet their targets. It's this identification, and the man that has led this identification cannot be said to be.
So he leads this. He sits at the table, heading the economic management team. He sets or recommends the targets, and then during the implementation, he watches as they go sit at, let's say, ShopRite and Mr. Price and all that, and then go to Kumasi Magazine people. Is that? I'm trying to reconcile what you're saying.
What we are saying is that, look, we have to find creative ways. Is it the best way to be physically present at a shop over weeks or months? Yes, everybody who comes in buys something will have to take their receipt to the GRA officer for him to also register it. Is it the best way? Could we find some other devices? Could we find a more creative way? That is just what we are saying. But as to our contribution to the tax, we keep saying, and it's obvious that, look, the level of taxes we pay in
I have to go on to the next subject.
We need
just in 2 minutes.
Away from that.
Grant me just in 2 minutes. How do we reconcile this to make sure that maybe, because from what Mr. Issa is saying, we seem to be misconstruing what the vice president said, including the GRA workers?
You see, there is a popular saying that weak leaders blame others for their mistake, but true leaders are humble enough to admit their mistakes.
Who are you quoting?
Bawumia, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, must understand something about leadership. You see, the GRA workers, like I said, take personal risk in going about their daily activities. And one would expect that the man who promised to move the economy from production to taxation, but has succeeded
No,
in...
he didn't say. He said from taxation to production.
So even from, granted, that even from taxation to production. Today, the record will show that he has not only, but to implement more and more taxes.
That is also not true.
40 new taxes
also
have
not
been
true.
introduced.
That is also true.
Why can't you be calm?
In this 40, we have...
Why can't you be calm?
Because
you have been unruly.
What you are saying is
You have been unruly.
You are turning out
Mr.
Are you fasting?
Mr.
Are you fasting as
You
a
are
Muslim?
turning out
Mr.
untruthful
Mr.
statements.
Mr.
And
Issa.
that's,
Mr.
because
Issa.
I'm fasting, I have to ensure
Mr. Issa.
that the truth
Mr. Issa,
is
when
propagated
you were talking,
That's
when you were talking,
I'm in demand mode.
I deliberately was watching him, and he never interjected. And I think that he
No,
respectfully...
but how can he be different from Bawumia?
No, that's okay.
One is unruly in his
That's
speeches.
okay.
No, but you see,
That's
but you
not the
see,
statement.
but you
That's
see,
okay.
but you
That's
see.
okay.
Let me deal
I
with
can't
let
say
me
that
deal
I'm
with the
going to-
substantive issue.
Please,
Sorry,
please,
Let
I
me
give
deal
you
with
2
the
minutes, Papa.
substantive
I'm not
issue.
like
2
him.
minutes.
I'm a lawyer. Behave yourself, man.
See. As part of the IMF conditionalities, is to ramp up our revenue targets. The GRA had been very instrumental in ensuring this. Because of the better performance of GRA last year of raising 113 billion Ghana cedis, this government had increased its revenue target to 175 billion. Now, the person who had given them this task is now blaming them for harassing poor taxpayers. If Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has any honesty, dignity left in him, he must quickly retract and apologize to the workers of GRA. And
Dr. Bawumia to apologize to GRA workers?
And the whole idea is to motivate them to go the extra mile. The IMF program had brought so much untold hardship on Ghanaians. And one would expect that in such trying circumstances, what you don't do is to insult the sensibilities of these workers. But you see, Bawumia is caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, in the sense that he must disavow everything that has been done under his watch in order to appear clean. But the ordinary Ghanaian has this image once he comes on television, a dishonest, a person who is not deserving of any trust, a person who lies at the least opportunity. That is the character that people see on television. And I am so happy. I am so happy that today, at least we have the opportunity. The NPP has been in power for the past 7 years. They know what to do to a murderer, like my brother said. They know what to do. What I am aware is that leading members of the NPP had informed us that our vice president had to be jettisoned out of the country as a result of what? You want to go there with me? I am ready for you. We are just being told that your own former colleague MP was poisoned.
No,
we heard it here.
No, please.
And you want us to go on that?
No, let's
Look,
not do that. Let's not do that.
Idiocy for idiocy. If you think you are prepared to play this dirty game, I'm ever ready for you.
I have a couple of messages.
But you see, what I need you to know. Were we not in this country?
Please,
when your boss, the man you are supporting,
please mute their mics for me. Let me look at
an aeroplane to land.
Let me look at a couple of messages. This one is coming from. Please.
Or you are denying that we were in this country.
Please, gentlemen.
Don't try it with me. Don't. I'm so ready for you.
Gentlemen, okay.
Now
we are ready. Osai Boateng.
Yes.
Osai Boateng.
Like you driving out of this place.
Okay. Osai Boateng from Inshaeso says, Roland, the vice president meant well. What he intended saying was that we want to ensure that workers and taxpayers in Ghana pay the right taxes. And so nobody should misconstrue him. Okay, I think we all heard what the vice president said. Mr. Gunu said, Roland, please don't read messages. Let the flow. Let the messages flow. And then I have Isahaku Mbapa Boga D line says, when it comes to digitalization, he was at the front seat, but when it comes to the economy, tax revenue mobilization, he was at the back seat. Is that what you are telling us, Mr. Husseini? And then we have a couple more. This one is coming from Chief Adinkra inside Terman Boga. Ask Mr. Husseini whether Ghana Card will put food on my table this morning or his table this morning. These, when these people are becoming offensive to the good public, he says it enables us to raise revenue. And then Mr. Seth says, I side with Mr. Eduji. Bawumia, the vice president, must apologize. And did he say that 17 million people enrolled in the tax net via Ghana Card, whilst at the same time saying that only some few million people, or 10% of Ghanaians, pay taxes? He shouldn't be contradictory, you say.
How is that contradictory? Let me just clarify that.
No, it's a message. These are viewers who are watching. These are
okay.
Fortune says, please tell Mr. Husseini that the good people of Ghana can see how desperate and dishonest the vice president is. When he says something today and then there's a reaction, he has to see it and say that I didn't say it well. All right. So